No Max, no JQ. I wasn't even supposed to do this podcast, but my other co-host on the Onward side had some drama this weekend, so I got him on her. I wanted to get him on her to talk about Onward for a while, so he had some time before he heads out to the Nationals. But let's drop that intro, and then we're gonna get talking to my good buddy Hefty. My good buddy Hefty. So with that said, let's drop that intro and get on with this.
Nitro is the glory, but e-buggy pays the bills. Welcome to the No Name RC podcast. Get ready for some serious bench racing. But be warned, we speak our minds, express our thoughts, and sometimes things can get a little rowdy.
Hate, and he just was influenced by the hate coming from the left, the hate coming from the right.
And let's get back to more club racing and less of this money-grabbing racing.
It's hard not to be arrogant when you're always right. Yeah.
See what I mean? That's exactly why people call you arrogant, Max.
You may not agree with everything we say, but it's definitely worth a listen.
And our pick, can you stop whatever you're doing?
Join your host, Lefty the Great, with co-hosts and guests as they get together to chat RC.
Hey, after that race that I watched this morning, I have to talk about it.
There we go. $100 right here, $100 throw. Oh no! I like this.
Yes, indeed, Nitro Is The Glory, but e-buggy pays the bills. But on this podcast, it's all about 10 scale onward. What's up, everybody? It's episode number 211 of the No Name RC podcast. That's right, number 211. I'm your host, Keenan White, and joining me a little bit later is my co-host, Hefty from Sampadal, USA. We're going to talk about he had some drama at his onward race this past weekend up there in New York. A lot of people brought that to my attention, and I hit him up to find out what happened. He says, let's record about it so I can tell everybody what happened. And it was good because I wanted to pick his brain anyway about the worlds and what he thought about that with Bruno and all this different stuff. So it was a great 10 scale onward chat, which I'm starting to like a lot more. And thank you to Hefty for his time. But before I go on any further, I just want to say thank you to all of you guys, the NNRC Squad around the world. I can't do it without you guys. Thank you for all the continued support. If you guys are just picking up on this podcast for the first time, please hit the like, sub, notification, dislike button, leave a comment on the YouTube channel. Let's help grow that. If you are listening to this on our audio platforms, please leave a review. If you like it or not, let us go. It helps us all get into those algorithms. Thank you to the NNRC Squad around the world. Thank you to the patrons of the podcast. Max and I dropped a Patreon-only pod this week. You also get early access to this podcast as well. So if you wish to become a patron of the podcast, you can. There's a link in the written description as well. We have YouTube membership for $1.99 a month for the cost of a cup of coffee a month. You can support the podcast and become an NNRC member, and you will get early access to all of this as well. So shout out to all of our sponsors. Remember, we have coupon codes, affiliate links, all the written descriptions down in the written description of this podcast. Sorry, links in the written description of this podcast. I always get this tongue twisted. But they are Invisible Speed, TZO 200 tires, TNR fuels, High Tech RC, Beach RC, Mayako, Lugs Racing Tires, Papa Willie's Traction Tonic, G-Spec RC Tuning, Sampadal USA, Racecraft USA, RCGP, House of RC, Clinic RC. Shout out to the driver, NNRC drivers. They are David Ronafog, Alexander Hagberg, Jared Tebow, and Robert Badier. So if you guys can, remember we have, like I said, affiliate links, coupon codes to all their sponsors. Also remember right now, Invisible Speed's running a special. If you sign up for the Invisible Speed course in the month of October, you get entered in the chance to win either a Mugen specifically built by Robert Badier or a Mayako specifically built by David Ronafog. So whoever wins gets to choose between a Mugen and a Mayako, and then whoever comes second, they get whatever left over. It's not a bad deal. You sign up for a year, you get knowledge, and you can win a car. So check that out at invisiblespeed.net. Also, we got some affiliate links with Beach RC. We have coupon codes. We have G-Spec RC tuning, Papa Willie's Traction Tonic, Lugs Racing Tires, Racecraft USA with their Wild Drew models. And check them out and help us out, man. Showing the advertisers some love, shows the podcast some love. With that said, I just want to shout out real quick because I wasn't planning on doing a podcast this week, but Max and I did talk about it. We saw that Burak Kilik won four-wheel drive at Workshop EOS this weekend. Well done to Burak. Well done. Job well done. Also, Neil Craig came out and won two-wheel drive. Unique surface at Workshop. First time I really paid attention to it. Made for some great racing. Really enjoyed it. So the Skidmores did well there as well. So lots of things. Max and I geeked out on that. I think I saw Boots win at the Ungaro race that they had this past weekend, which was good too. And of course, I am gearing up to go to RCGP, which is this weekend at the Badlands in Myrtle Beach. I'll be flying out. I'm looking forward to hanging out with all the Northeast people that are coming down, all the Southeast racers that are coming to this race. It's going to be the second round in America. And it looks like no Ungaro, unfortunately, no Canas. But we got Pecco, we got David Ronafal Campus coming over, CFT, Aiden Horn, Cody Watson's going to be racing. Beach RC hasn't named the racers yet, but I have an idea who it is. I saw Bobby Moore's building the track. I look forward to seeing what Bobby comes up with. And good weekend. And then I'm staying for Mod. Looks like Chris Sarkis is staying for Mod. So yeah, we're doing it big. 2 weeks. And if you didn't hear, we're doing a Latin America tour, the Invisible Speed Latin America tour coming up next month in November. It's going to be me, JQ, and Robert Battier. Cool stuff. So I guess I don't really have much to say. Like I said, this was an impromptu podcast. Hefty was like, let's make a podcast about it. I was like, sure. Well, I said, should we do a podcast? Yeah, let's do a podcast. Anyway, here is an hour and 20 minutes of Hefty and Lefty talking on road, what happened at the NYGP, New York GP, why he thinks what on road needs to grow. We talk about Roar. We talk about a lot of things. With that said, let's get over and see what Hefty has to say. So, joining me for this impromptu podcast, I want to say, if some incident that happened over the weekend is joining me, my non-Hefty co-host, my 10-scale guy, my on-road guy, also import of Sampadal Racing Batteries USA, which nobody still won from the last podcast, by the way.
They don't know how good the GOAT is, man.
I know. So go back and listen to that episode, and I think maybe my buddy might have won. I have to check it. But you could win some Sampadal batteries, racing batteries, Sampadal USA racing batteries, courtesy of this man right here.
I think what we're going to have to do is make some of these quizzes easier, you know?
Every time I do a Christmas show and I have all these nice quiz questions and nobody ever gets them. So what's up, Hefty? You've been busy. We haven't done anything since episode 203, which was the 10 scale Nationals, Dirt Nationals.
Yeah.
We've had a 10 scale Worlds, which has had accusations of cheating. We've had a 10 scale Nationals, Nitro Nationals down in Puerto Rico right after a hurricane.
Yep.
Is it the Bangkok Worlds this year or is it next year?
I don't even know. What classes are we doing?
10 scale Nitro sedan.
You might as well be speaking Spanish to me right now.
Okay, so you don't.
I don't know anything about Nitro, bro, except that the motors are a pain in the butt to tune.
Well, and they're expensive and you need a lot for on-road. All right, so and then you're headed on to the Nationals for electric racing, right? Where's that to?
It's going to be in Florida, on the east coast of Florida, about an hour south of Orlando's airport. Okay. In a town called Grant, Valkyria. And the track is actually on the grounds of a small, regional airport.
Okay. And this is outdoor asphalt.
Asphalt, yep. Outdoor asphalt. This club hosted the Roar Nationals in 2016. And I still kind of remember that race pretty vividly. We had the Osmax team did really well. We won all the slow classes. And then in the fast class for mod touring, there was an epic battle between Cav and Rick Howard. And
okay.
Howard got the shorter end of the stick. Let's just put it that way.
He must not have been happy about that.
I don't think he probably was. But, both of them, on asphalt are tremendous drivers. I don't think either of them will be at this year's World Nationals. But, maybe they will be someday.
Sam Isaac's the favorite to win this?
Well, Sam's won a lot of carpet
right, asphalt.
He won at Jackson last year, which is basically a relatively local track to us, or to him now. I'm not in that neighborhood anymore. And I'm trying to remember what happened in, I guess, 21. There was no Nationals because Jackson was supposed to have it, but COVID screwed that up. And then, I don't know. I'd have to think back. But
who's the favorite going into this year's Nationals then?
At this race, there's probably 3 guys that can get it done. So in the local scene, there is an express driver who a long time ago, he used to refer to it as Panda Express. And so the funny part is this racer, and I don't know why we have no notes, so we're all just like freeballing this.
We're freeballing this.
Yeah. So we need a chat function I can see so people can tell me what the name I'm missing right now in my head. But anyway.
Well, I kind of lead into something here, so continue. I just want to know who the favorite American guys are.
And well, yeah, and so generally, it's why can't I remember this guy's name? Oh, I feel so bad. He's a McLaren Express driver. Anyway, I'm shot, so it's been a hell of a week.
Hefty can't figure out it, and I have no idea who he's talking about.
That's fine. We'll get to it in a minute.
We'll figure it
out. Also local would be Dave Vera. Dave is an Infinity driver, and he also runs for Phantom, and he has a good shot at it. Realistically, traveling in would be Sam Isaacs, who has a great shot. Then we also have 2 X-ray guys. One is Mike G, and the other one is Chris Adams. Mike and Chris both went down to Valkyria probably like 2-3 weeks ago. Were part of the Florida State Series, and they did pretty well. They got rained out, of course, because that seems to be all that's happening right now in Florida. Sam Isaacs and Craig Xavier went 2 weeks prior to that. We were there for 2 days, and we might have gotten 6 hours of running because of just rain. And that was probably the most expensive RC weekend I've ever had. If you look at how many laps I got to do.
Is this where you messaged me asking about RC boats?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. There we go.
Yeah, we contemplated thinking about how do we do boat racing in this like little like pond thing that was next to the track, because it was just fucking chaos, dude.
Might have been alligators in there, dude.
No, there was. He got a little big, so they got him out of there. In 2016, there definitely was. And at 2016 race, I think Paul Ciccarello was there, and we were, contemplating like throwing him in. I could be wrong about that. If not, it's still funny. The guy's name who I now thought about is Felix Law, and so
right, I've heard that name before.
Felix is probably he's going to be the most dangerous guy there from a track local perspective. But we'll see what happens. You got to run the race.
Wasn't he running WRC for a minute?
Probably. I don't know. Felix Felix is, I've raced with him since 2014, one way or another. And so he was going to school in the States, and now he lives in the States again. And great guy, very helpful. I don't know if you might have seen, he used to be involved heavily in like the dash electronics stuff. And then more recently, he started to get involved in the McLaren electronics stuff. And they seem to be doing some interesting stuff with Speedos right now.
Well, McLaren has been big.
Easy to drive. So,
well, yeah. So a little background of McLaren, them and Tim Smith and Colin Branch, they've been developing a lot of stuff for no prep. So they developed like this programming for the ESCs for no prep. So I'm assuming some of that's trickling over into the on and off road. Yeah. So I kind of wanted to segue into this before we talk about the NYGP, which is your dragon this past weekend.
In so many ways, but yes.
All right. So we're going to talk about that because I had many people who say we need to get Hefty on the podcast. But I kind of wanted to touch on a few things because we've had some European races as well. We had, obviously we had the Worlds, which was in Gubbio, which was controversial. I kind of talked to you a little bit about that. You listened to our podcast that JQ done.
Yeah. He tried to debunk, did X-ray cheat or not?
Yes, he did. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that as an on-road guy, as a guy that this is your world. What did you think about his synopsis?
I think, he had an interesting look at it, and there's only two possible outcomes realistically. One is, somehow there is an Italian-led conspiracy started from, I don't know, I'll just guess Francesco or somebody,
right,
to put a different batch of tires that had the same imprint of like 32 shore or whatever shore they were running. And, they figured out that this batch is magical, and they found some way to land that batch with, a few of the guys in the X-ray team. Or they went to the track a lot. They did their homework. They did the work. They outworked everybody, and that's it. So pick an outcome.
What did you think about JQ's analysis on the setup of Coelho's car? And
it is interesting to think about, like, is one car looser than the other, faster than the other? I was not to name drop, but I was having dinner last night with Mark Reinhard.
That's a name to drop though.
And Max Meschler, that's how it's said correctly.
Okay.
And their other friend, Thomas Bermel, they all went to the NYGP, and we were talking about the event a bit, and I think the thing that I probably caused the majority of the trouble, other than the rain, constant rain, the organizer not knowing even any of the rules, just being a clown. All right. But the layout changes that were done, in particular, that set of dots on the sweeper where the car wants to fall into the corner, and then they have to steer out and drive around it. And it's so far away. I think they made that just overly difficult. Now, mind you, could be like, well, it's the Worlds, it should be hard. But I feel like that was also a contributing factor there. It just, for some reason, maybe somebody had better vision. Maybe they just were able to find a muscle memory through there in a way that would make it work. It's hard to say, what was that X factor, but, based upon everything we know, they put a ton of time in at the track, and it's hard to beat effort,
Yeah, I agree kind of with that as well. And I also heard this people didn't enjoy the event for various reasons, like the tables being too high, no chairs, stuff like that. the entry count was kind of low. No Americans.
Yep.
So that was kind of my segue into that. Like, no Americans at this race, none of those top guys. Whereas I'm sure in years past there would have been plenty, like Barry Baker's days and all that. There would have been plenty of American guys there. Are the only professional on-road racers in Europe now and in Asia
that are getting paid to that degree? Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably. And
I would say so.
The funny part is like, the question is like, what's the forward for some of the folks, and mm-hmm. like, unless you're going to try to create a brand like Mark and the rest of his family have done, it feels hard to, fund something just solely on racing,
mm-hmm. Yeah, we have this conversation a lot.
And, I like you see some of the other stuff and I don't know, is this making money in the reality? But like Mayfield has that J concept thing. All right. Mm-hmm. I hope for the likeness of the brand of Mayfield, mm-hmm. he's getting something out of it. All right.
He should.
Yeah. I'm assuming he does, but yes. The reality is you need, I think, separate income streams to make that work. And
yeah.
Like one of the last big U.S. racers was Paul Lemieux in on-road. Mm-hmm. Paul was very dominant for years, okay? And, he went into doing tires, which are basically ride tires, at least for like USGT, and another touring car tire from another manufacturer. Let's just assume it's Sweep. And then, he makes motors and batteries and stuff like that. And, he got smart and he got with some of the other people in the Midwest and they took upon the spec motor idea and they now have a spec motor both in USGT and oval. So these other income streams, I think are what allows people to kind of, keep things moving. But, it's not hard. I know it's a hustle for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
And
well, on-road's way smaller than off-road's small. Like people racing, period. RC racing is entirely small. I mean, we feel like it's big because we go to these races and it's, 700 people there. Not racers, but 700 people with their families and all that stuff. There's a good bit of people there. And it feels big, but when you go to some event like Jim Knoll in the Falls Fly In, and there's literally tens of thousands of people mm-hmm. there, and it's a week-long event where it's going to see tens and tens of thousands of visitors. It's really small in the big scheme of thing. And then onward, because I've been having this discussion with my buddy, and we've been having this discussion for a while. You look at races like Snowbirds, Scotty's race that used to have in Vegas.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know how much the NYGP pulled, but that's another. It's pulled some. These private races are pulling more numbers than these worlds, these nationals.
Yep.
And so this is my pet peeve about this.
Well, the major reason I think why, and I was talking about this a bit with Max Meschler last night, mm-hmm. is the rules out of the regulatory bodies are just total shit.
Okay.
And, they don't know how to uphold them, or they're just very onerous. They're not even rewritten correctly half the time. But, like if you're an F1 fan, you could see the F1 guys messed it up this weekend with rules too. Right. So rules are hard to do right. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I was talking with Max about at dinner last night was, what if we don't do an organization or region by region rule, but instead we collectively as racers who actually know what the fuck they're talking about, build a global rule. And then there's only some degrees of optionality. And so what I think would be very useful is if we could start grading event types. So if we had a single set of rules, you could break up some of the rules in such a way. So like I've seen this in the past. I don't know how big this is really, but I'm trying to relate to what you guys do in your bread and butter. Mm-hmm. So in 8 scale in the past, there used to be like a wing size rule and things would go haywire. And it was only like maybe the Kyosho wing or something.
Right. Right.
Did I get that right?
Yes, that happened.
All right, I paid attention. Awesome.
That happened at the IFMAR Worlds in 2016.
Yeah. So in that sort of scenario, there's certain rules that only the most nitpicky thing would care anything about.
Mm-hmm.
And, if the same set of rules was everywhere, though, you could say, well, I'm going to go to like a level 5 event. And in level 5, you do all 5 annoying things.
Mm-hmm.
And then first, like a normal club race, that's a level 1 event. So what do? You make sure you don't rip up the surface. The ride height has to be good or something like that. And you're not cheating with voltage.
Okay.
Something like that. But if we could find a way to collectively have a set of rules and build a set of expectations for when I go to this event, what rules will be tested on me, then it's easier to prepare and go to different places. And, the only variance would be like, hey, is there a certain sauce type rule? No sauce, a certain sauce, whatever sauce you want. Or is there a certain tire rule? Maybe, any tire you want, only pin tire. Here's the handout tire, whatever it might be. And I think those sorts of things would probably help, grow racing and make everything effectively the same. So it's not so weird when you go to different places and countries.
So let me ask you something. In Onward, are they generally following the rules? Like, are people so at these races? So at NYGP.
Yep.
You guys had
the
rules.
Whole name in it. It was the 2022 Montac New York Grand Prix.
New York Grand Prix. Sorry. Yeah. Did you guys follow a set of rules for that? Was it stringent or what was it?
They were not overly stringent.
Okay. So it's more like so you were obviously in stock. You was testing for weight, voltage, I guess, as well.
Yeah. So we did motor tech. So we took motors, we got them to a certain temperature. We tested resistance. All right, against the specified measured charts that Roar has, because we know people in Roar, we were able to get that data. Okay. We checked for blinky, and the interesting thing was there's been new software released right around the time of the Roar Off-Road Nationals, I think, that talked about like new Hobby Wing and new R1 software. Not everyone had that. Okay. And realistically, I was like making notes. This driver doesn't have it. This driver doesn't have it. We'd be like, update it. Some people would, some people wouldn't. Basically, if you took the TQ, we made sure you're, on the up and up. Otherwise, we would have the car come back and we go through it again.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And the sort of the last 2 changes in the blinky space were more around fun things you could do with adding softening, and that would pull timing out of the motor at certain parts throughout the throttle control. So you can actually run more timing, go faster down the straightaway, but initially in that acceleration band, it has less, so you don't heat the motor up as much. So, it was a fun new way some people figure out how to cheat. Let's be honest. It's playing. All racing plays in this weird space.
The gray area.
Yeah. That's what makes guys great in like NASCAR and all this other stuff. All right. That's why crew chiefs get thrown out of races for multiple weekends. And, the only thing that's annoying is when you're playing not in a gray area, but you're blatantly going against rules.
I agree with you there. So my question is, you guys seem to, so we always say, this is our feeling on the off-road side. As you can see, I'm wearing a Raw shirt that I got from Greg Degani, because he was like, I'm not taking that back home. I was like, well, I will wear it. And it fits very nice. 2022 World Championship. We always feel like on the off-road side, because we get the bigger numbers, I think like our world sellout, our fuel national sellout. Okay, our e-buggy nationals, doesn't get that much people. 10 scale nationals. I think when it was just one, it got pretty decent.
Yeah.
But we always felt like Raw in particular, and I would say IFMAR too, is run by a bunch of you on-road guys. And we always wanted, well, it is kind of.
But I think it's run by a bunch of old men. Let's be
right.
serious.
So we got the same issue. It's the old guard, right?
Yeah.
So we need to get them out.
Yes, they don't race. They use it as like a vacation where they get to fly somewhere and go eat dinner on someone else's paycheck.
Okay, so it's so good to hear somebody besides JQ say this.
It's the truth. it's the blatant truth. And so in the conversation with Max yesterday, he was like, well, the worst part is we try to propose rules for 10th scale electric touring car, and then some guy who's like a 5th scale guy says, no, I don't agree with that. Fuck you, 5th scale guy.
But it applies to 10th scale.
About it. Yeah, but that's in how these organizations have been built up. It's the old boys club, and they have to get all these goons to agree to do something, and that's why nothing gets done.
It's done,
and it's a fucking joke.
Right, and I was telling my buddy who wants to run for Raw president, I was like,
are you talking about Clayton Young?
No, not Clayton Young. But I'm supposed to have him on this podcast. I don't know him, but I'm sure you're going to tell me about him.
I can give you his number.
I've talked to him.
I'll give it to everyone right now. It's 61. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But no, I have another friend who's talking about it, and I was telling him, and it takes more than one person. It's going to take a group of people, and it's going to have to start with because what's going to happen with one person getting in there, they're just going to be stifled because they're not going to have any word. I'll say there's some people in Raw that are young enough and want to do things, but they get to a point, and then that old guard doesn't want to let that go.
Yeah, so
they don't want to let that go.
There is some like people of change in Raw right now. So the VP at the moment, his name is Garland. Garland,
Jeez.
He used to be the Region 2 director.
Okay.
And so he got promoted recently or elected recently. And, I think what's happening is behind the scenes, there's honestly like a coalition of the willing.
Good.
Trying to work together. Now, when you drop that bomb about, hey, I got this buddy who wants to run, I was like, oh, shit. Because realistically, I think what we almost need less options at the moment, and we just need to stir the pot. And so
you definitely need to do that.
And, like the best thing we can do is get people who care to be the Raw region directors.
Right. That's what I've been saying. That's what I've been saying. I've been saying that for like 3 years now. Sign up to Raw. There's regional director positions that, according to their website, that isn't filled. Apply to get in there, and as a group, consecutively, as a group, it doesn't matter what classes we're running, but if we're a group of people that want to put progression of the sport / hobby first, besides that, and you know what, I think that people should get paid for their time as well. It shouldn't just go to one person. Like split things up, because Raw makes money off of what's the word? Like license? Is it licensing the word I'm looking for? Like approval.
They require the manufacturers to pay $100, and then to do different things, it costs different amounts of money.
Right.
So to do a body qual, it's $25.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter. They'll measure it wrong. Everyone else will measure it one way, and then it's wrong. All right. And Roar knows I'm talking to them about it right now. Okay.
Right. So my thing about this is like, I don't think that these old guys are useless. I think that they still have knowledge. Like there's definitely knowledge and history that can be used. But I think there's nobody being like, I use the example, the guy Stetson, who was the referee at the Worlds, who I heard is very good. He's very strict. He's very good, but he's consistent he doesn't care. Like he doesn't care if he pisses you off. I said to myself, this guy should be training other people.
Yep.
He's not old, by the way, but I'm saying he should be training people not to be like him, but the basics of being. This is where these federations can.
Yeah, I heard that.
Right. So this
on the last podcast.
Right. So they can. This is if you listen to the last podcast, like there's things that can be passed on and train people to do certain things with these older guys, but nobody wants to change, man. And there is but you see, now that you talk about Raw, I heard there's a collective, some other, I'm not going to say much, but I heard there's other tremors and other federations or things going around.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting to see, because I hate to pat myself or pat this podcast self on the back, but we have been one of the biggest thorns in these federations' behinds for the last 4 years. Well, JQ, but mostly me coming up with that. But I felt that it's necessary to keep because nobody's really holding their feet to the fire, to be honest, publicly.
The problem is there's not accountability.
Right.
And they take too long to actually do anything.
Okay.
And then when they don't do something, there's no transparency as to why it wasn't done.
Exactly. Exactly.
What they should do is make the Roar meeting or whatever meeting. You could have a 9-box podcast.
Yeah. And just like have no, you can't comment. Like just have people listen.
Yeah, exactly. And you've gone on mute. But yeah, it would be totally amazing. Yeah. And it would allow there to be transparency for once, and things would then be recorded.
I agree with you.
You know, like I have a feeling there's a lot of different politicking and things like that. Like the other thing I would say is there should not be anyone really affiliated with a manufacturer.
I would agree there too. I would agree there too.
But
I would agree there.
You just look at it and they're painted with manufacturers.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how, and then that's where even more rumors start. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. So, but that guy Clayton Young is going for Raw president. Will he make a great Raw president?
What's that?
Is he one of the old guard, or is he okay, so he's a guy who wants to push for change?
Relatively new. He's not young. All right.
Okay.
His last name might be
right, because I've seen pictures of him and I'm thinking old guard.
Well, he's just a Marine.
Okay.
Okay. So he served his country and now he's trying to serve his hobby. All right. And so that's the way I read it. And, love him, hate him, he'll be transparent on things. And, the thing that bothered him the most was he got part of some micro thing within Roar, and he took it upon himself to rewrite the entire rule book. And I have a copy of the rule book as it was his rule book as it was in 2020. And it's never been voted on to be promoted within the organization. You're on mute.
Yeah, I was on mute because there was a Honda Cub 70 out there revving up really loud. Interesting. So I have to get him on her then. Okay, I will make it I've talked to him.
Yeah,
I need to reconnect with him and get him on her.
Clayton is he's going to be at the Roar Asphalt Nationals this weekend. All right, he was just at the NYGP. He isn't going to the race that's after that in Cleveland, Ohio, at a local track called The Gate. Mm-hmm. This is known as the Halloween Classic, which is another race that I sponsor through a different brand called Roche. And you might find that, wow, there's this one guy who's spending a lot of time and a lot of money to promote racing, especially at local tracks. I wonder why. Because if you don't have a local track, you can't race your fucking toy cars anywhere. And I know you don't like calling them toy cars, but you have nowhere to race them.
No,
right?
You don't.
And it's madness. So sometimes you need these big events that are in ballrooms and whatever else. But what you really need is
club racing,
butts and seats, and helping those places keep the doors open.
Well, I mean, how do we grow on-road racing? Do we go back to old school touring car and parking lot stuff?
Well, everything goes through like these little ebbs and flows. And the funny part is, like, there's some classes that you think could be cool, but there's things about them that make them cost prohibitive. All right. At the moment, honestly, probably the best class would be, there's probably two best classes, or basically there's two types of cars. If you just buy these two cars, you could race all year. Okay. So the first one is you just have to have a 4-wheel drive touring car. All right. This past weekend, I raced a carbon fiber car. I did not race an alloy chassis car.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I did this somewhat on purpose because the team, I'm going to say collectively, struggled at a low grip race, which is snowbirds. And I didn't bring a touring car, and I was kicking myself for not bringing a touring car because I couldn't help. And so we went to Carpet Nats, which was at Chris Adams' track, someone who's also going to this Roar National event. He hosted the carpet version of it. And, grip was good, whatever. And then we went to another race in Denver to close out the sort of indoor season. And that is historically a very low grip track. Mm-hmm. And so I built a new carbon car and I brought it to that event. And, we were on some new tires that are very hard. And I was able to get my car to traction roll. And when you're traction rolling, that's when you're usually pretty fast. And so I didn't win. I didn't think I was going to win. I thought, if I had the same car as the best driver at the event, which I do own the same car as the best driver at the event, I still probably won't win. And that's okay. All right. I'm more sort of interested in what do you learn? And then how do you improve things? And, I always want to put in a good drive. I want to, be proud of what you do. But, I have realistic expectations. Some classes, I'm actually pretty good at. Other classes, I'm like, I'm all right. And other ones, I just kind of do it because it puts a giant smile on my face.
No, I mean, that's at the end of the day, you want to be smiling.
Yeah.
You want to be smiling.
But so I think, in on-road, you need a touring car, 4-wheel drive, and then you should probably get a 12 scale. The problem though, with certain 12 scale classes is tires. And so there is a tire combo on carpet that just makes a lot of sense for beginners. And it's these SJT rubber 12 scale tires. You can buy one set, you can race one set, you can race them for like 10 weeks in a row. And they cost like $35 or something like that. That's great. I highly recommend that. Even with respect to some of the nonsense that's been going on social media in the last 24 hours.
Right. We're going to touch on that. I just wanted to say that I see on-road, which it just goes hand in hand with carpet off-road because you can do both in the same area, I think. So I have a buddy up in Ohio, I believe. Is he? No, it's in Ohio. One of those areas there. Close to Chicago, I would say. I don't know how close that is. They have off-road, on-road track.
Is it the Thunderdome?
No, it's like I sponsored it. My buddy Tony's car seller, but it's mostly off-road. They do a lot of off-road, but it's just I see this, and 10 scale 12 scale requires less space. So I see, it's gonna have to go indoors and probably in school gyms and stuff, similar how they do it in the UK and stuff like that. So we shall see. It's gonna be hard to do asphalt tracks, and have those. They can be done. But I think at some point, going back maybe to the roots, parking lot racing, parking lot racing, and enjoying that. That's where it grew. That's where it blew up.
I ran a parking lot race this year. It was a TCS race, and it's always kind of interesting to do that. It wasn't really a parking lot like in a Home Depot or anything like that. It was a parking lot in a school, like in the corner that no one saw. But, there is something to be said about bringing it to the people.
Yes.
And the only challenge is you need to bring it to the people and then not be like embarrassed to tell them how much it costs.
Right. Well, not brag about it. Like not use it as a bragging point. Like be realistic. Tell them they can get into it secondhand too. Because you can. I don't know about on-road. Off-road you can.
Secondhand, is real. And honestly, secondhand is probably the best thing to do unless you end up buying someone's problems.
That's true. That's true.
Can happen, in any class.
That's true. All right. So drama. So on-road has a fair bunch. I thought off-road had a lot of drama, but you guys actually have a lot more than us, it seems like.
I don't know if there's a lot of drama out there.
Well, I haven't anywhere in off-road like we don't have. Okay, so let's be honest. In off-road, the biggest thing we came to cheating was like people accusing Ongaro of using a gyro for years, which is accusing of cheating. But otherwise than that, I'm not. If somebody's over on a fuel tank, it's not cheating. The fuel tank probably blew up because it got too hot. Something like that.
I would say the biggest thing that, like if I were to say there's one big thing people cheat with, it's usually motors. Like, random motor you can't either buy or make or whatever. You mean in
electric? So we're talking electric. I was comparing to 8-scale nitro. Sorry. Yeah. But there is a lot of drama. You was involved in some this weekend.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about the 2022 Montac New York Grand Prix. Its history a little bit, where it's held, because I think I saw some really cool racing from this. Was it last year or a couple years ago? Some close racing. So before we get into it, so people know what we're talking about, this is a well-known race up in New York, up in the Northeast. You had Reinhardt there. You had a couple, like you said, a couple of big European guys there. Yeah. I want to say, like, has Hagberg been to this?
Hagberg's been there before.
Right.
We've had a bunch of basically world champions or national champions or big race, guys run at this place throughout the years.
Where is it? How to?
The track is in Westchester, New York. It's actually a town called New Rochelle. And so it's just about 10 minutes across the New York City border. And so you head basically towards Connecticut, right along the coast there on the 95.
Oh, so it's a permanent track then?
Yeah, it's a permanent track.
Okay.
And it's in a facility that is run by a good friend, Donnie Leah. I've known Donnie since we were little kids. And we were like 12 or 13 racing off-road buggies. All right. And so Donnie, a long time ago, Donnie opened a track in Long Island, New York, where we both grew up. And that was in 2008. And he opened it. It was the first 360. It had to close for whatever reason. A few years later, he reopened 360 V2. And this one happened to be in New Rochelle. And it is basically catty corner to a car dealership that Donnie is a part of.
Okay.
And the building is mostly used for, the parking lot is mostly used for car storage when you have cars that you can sell.
Okay.
Okay. But there happens to be a big ass building. And, it's been the home of New York City carpet racing for, at least, I don't know, the last 6, 7, 8 years, something like that. And, things come and go, like, we get different waves of popularity, lack of popularity. We've done a lot of things at that facility. And, even some of the people who are involved in the drama this weekend helped that facility tremendously. Mm-hmm. A bunch of years ago, that facility got closed down by the fire marshal because there wasn't working sprinklers. Sprinklers got repaired and water got restored because of Albin Melendez.
Right.
Made that happen, made the facility work. And so, he's a good friend of Donnie's and, usually of mine. And, the reality is people sometimes get heated. And,
there's racing.
Kind of. And there's often, like, the biggest problem is you could take something and sweep it under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we found an issue this past weekend, it was in between Q3 and Q4. People had been talking about and went up to the race announcer saying, there's people saucing in the pits. And so what do we mean by that? Well, to folks who don't know, the tire additive you use can have a huge impact on how fast your machine goes on the track. All right. And so not only do we require a non-smelling additive, we require a specific additive. And so big thanks to Jeff Brown, who once again stepped up and sponsored this year's event and provided a sauce table. So he provided all the sauce and we had a table set up with stands, and it would be right after the tech inspection line. If you had to go use sauce, you got to get your ass out of your chair, walk over there, and use it on that table. And then you can go back and bring your car back, sit down, do whatever you want. So earlier in the week, like during round 1 and 2, we went around, and folks who had sauce, we had them get it off the table. We're like, okay, you're not allowed to use it. All right. The bigger challenge was the racers around in this one section were smelling something. Something that smells like a different additive. And so, there was basically the back table in the building on one side was found to have this bottle of additive at it. And we knew who it was. We took the bottle, opened it, smelled it. This doesn't smell right. Seal it back up, hand it to the 2 or 3 other people helping work the event. And because of various reasons, not only am I the sponsor of the event, but I actually help tremendously in the work effort for the event.
Okay.
Because Donnie wasn't able to this year. And so ultimately we helped have him be involved to make a call. This is what happened, but we purposely didn't say who it was.
Okay.
Because we don't want relationships to get involved with rules and what is right and what's wrong.
So this was not publicly known outside of the Facebook post that we saw the other day. Okay. No. Yesterday.
And so people saw us walking around. They saw us pick up something.
Mm-hmm.
Many people came over. They recommended what we should do. They're like, yep, you should DQ all those runs, put him in the last sort, and he can start last, or the first sort and start last, the lowest sort and start last for the final round. And this is, what's been done at different races like this when that's been found out. Okay. So there's precedent. And so, the interesting point is, what happened next? So there's a conversation. So me and Alvin go outside. I ask him, hey, can you go outside? And realistically, I don't want to have this conversation with anyone.
Right. I get that.
But the person I don't want to have the conversation with is someone someone who's a local, someone who's friendly with the owner of the track, someone who helped the track. It's
awkward.
It's not awkward. I was mad to even have to have the conversation.
In that position, to be put in that position.
Because I don't want to be doing it, but you have to do it. And that's the real problem. And you're just disappointed in the person. Okay. So the fun part is the conversation, and a billion people have asked me about this already. And, some people posted about it on the internet. Hell, I'm doing a podcast on it. So,
we did have people ask about it. So I thought it'd be great to talk about it.
So, so the conversation led in, hey, we found a bottle of sauce. Oh yeah. We've been using that. And I'm just like, what do you mean we? Well, the entire team's been using it to sauce their tires. I'm like, what do you mean the entire team? And so let people dig a hole.
Right. So he put the whole team in the hole just now.
Correct. And on that table is actually 3 people who I didn't think took part in this. We had a racer out of Japan. His name's Kazuki. We had a racer out of Great Britain, Ollie Payne, who you've probably heard of. And another racer out of Great Britain, Morgan Williams. And I don't think they used that sauce. And I can tell you that a person on that table helped identify the use of this sauce.
Wow.
Okay.
So just so I clear this up, the use of the sauce there was so you can control, basically, not just so you can know that everybody's on the same sauce.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Just to know that. And the reason you have pick this certain type of sauce is one, he sponsored it. Two, it's not as stinky as the other sauces that you use.
It's the prevalent product being used for the last decade.
Okay. So it is a prevalent product that's being used at this track. Okay.
And the important part was the bottle I picked up was that product. The label is that product.
But what was in it wasn't the same?
It's not the same.
Okay.
And but
he should have been doing it on the sauce table from the get-go. So that's first rule broken right there, right off the bat. Yeah, guilty of that right off the bat.
Yep. And then, so that's first problem. Second problem is the stuff in the bottle isn't the stuff that everyone's using. Okay. And then the funny part is like, everyone's doing it. And then I open up the bomb of, well, just so you know, that sauce is not what everyone's using. And he's like shocked and awed. What do you mean it's not what everyone's using? I'm like, dude, it has an odor. I don't know what's in it. Don't care what's in it. But, reality is you're disqualified and you've just narked out your entire team. And do you want to name names, or are you just going to maybe, be quiet about it and say, take your punishment? So,
and that's I guess that's when they got aggressive.
No, not at all.
Oh,
not at all. And so reality is I think there was like smoke coming out of the ears at the moment. And, you start thinking like, hey, what excuse can I make next? And so it's like, well, the team just got tired of getting up and saucing their tires. I'm like, don't care.
Yeah, but everyone has to do that.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So did this result in you and him getting in like a shouting match or whatever?
So at that moment, it was mostly me yelling at him because of the disappointment.
Right.
And like the fact of why am I telling this guy who's a local, who is a manufacturer representative, who is a friend of the track owner,
right,
that this is what happened.
But how did it? I mean,
so let's fast forward. I'll share the next few steps.
Okay.
So we go back over to the computer. Race director deletes the races. Go back over. Hand him a note. We're not grandstanding. We're not celebrating this. We're not being dicks. All right. Walk over. Here's a note. This is the race you're in, the car number you have. Good luck. And so the round starts. He's in first race. Last car. Races his race. Apparently, I didn't watch the race. Didn't care about the race, frankly. Whatever. Doesn't make the A main, but he made himself up from the C main to the B main. So we actually had a chance to do bump ups because we did B main bump ups, only taking 9 cars into the A and allowing the winner of the B to bump. Okay. So all hope isn't lost. You could always, double down, do something, tomorrow. But he comes off the stand, doesn't marshal, and then runs over. I'm sitting in my pits doing shit because, I'm trying to race, but half of the weekend I've spent like selling tires and helping organize and do all this other bullshit for the event. And just gets in my face, don't ever talk to me like that. Don't ever raise your voice at me.
So this is after his race.
Correct.
The next day.
No, the same day.
Okay.
30, 40 minutes later.
Okay. But after he didn't make the main.
Yeah.
Okay, so he didn't make the main, so he's upset. Now, was he in the main with his qualifying?
Don't know. I think he might have been 11 before.
Okay.
But I don't know.
So he kind of delayed response there.
Yeah. And so we were out in the parking lot. He was calm, basically calm as could be. He was trying to argue a case. But based upon the later response, he could have just laid me out there.
Was it aggro? Was it super aggro?
Oh, yeah, dude. It was ugly.
So this is in the pits.
In the pits.
Not good.
And
not good both ways.
The reality is, me 10 years ago wouldn't sit there and talk calmly.
Okay.
And so, the funny
older.
things are all the things you hear after it. All right. So much of a ruckus was occurring. The B sort was running. The guys were getting distracted. Like if you watch the B sort race, marshals are walking away from their marshal position, starting to walk towards the pits to understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the race director, eventually is like, shut up, blah, blah, blah. And, the threats, the accusations, the this, that, whatever else, and he's like, don't raise your voice to me. So I don't talk low. So I'm like, this is the lowest voice I can talk to you in, blah, blah, blah. And, no one wants to hear whatever you're going to say back to him, threatens to kick my ass, this, that, whatever else. And, it's kind of not the thing you really need. And
no, not at RC events.
No. And,
no.
It, to me, it's embarrassing. And the funny part is, you should see all the emails I've gotten since. People like, I don't want to be a part of that.
Right.
And then
it hurts. It really hurts the hobby, the sport.
Well, it hurts the brands they represent.
That too. Yes.
And then the other funny part is somebody passed me a note and it said, FJ, I got your back, son. And I took a picture of it because it was fucking hilarious. All right. And then everyone else is like, yeah, if he got on you, it wouldn't have lasted for long.
I'm glad it doesn't get to that. We don't need any violence at any more races. But I understand why he was disappointed. This is a guy. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
To me, the only thing I can come up with is when drama happens later,
mm-hmm.
It's the peak of aggravation. I've failed. I use that word a lot.
I didn't make the A, man.
Yep.
It's all your fault. So
yep.
I didn't probably when he was getting ready for it, he probably didn't really realize it. It's like, I'll bump up to the A anyway. Don't make the A. Then it's your fault. Then that's when it's, I could understand his passion, his emotions as well. So you are the focal point because you disqualified him from that. So you become that. But in the end of the day, everybody just sits down and realizes at the end of the day, you're breaking two rules that everybody else is abiding by. And this is just something that I don't know if this was offered, I would definitely blame Raw because of the lack of rules that we have at races or federation representation. Just like, but you guys have it, and he's a seasoned racer, and he should know better. I would assume he's done this race before. Yep. I assume you guys have had sauce tables before.
Yep.
Maybe he's done this before and just never noticed. Maybe I don't know. Maybe because you're more diligent.
I don't know. But
maybe
the reality is the racers around you saw it. They, they're like.
Of course, I'm going to say something.
Don't want to name names.
I'm going to be like, why does that guy get the sauce on his table and I don't? I'm going to say things. I'm going to say, why does that guy get the sauce and I don't on my table? I don't know how we solved it. So then my buddy, actually who first brought this to my attention was my buddy Joe Zaire, Ran Out of Talent podcast. And he's like, you need to get Hefty on her to discuss this. And he's on to BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's like, we have a INS race coming up here. And there's no sauce. Or some races got in Minnesota. Yeah. And if I catch somebody saucing, it's going to be a fight. I was like, whoa, it's so passionate. So it's on. And then I kind of read what the guy Mendez wrote. I understand his emotions too. But at the end of the day, you broke two blatant rules and you earn friends. You earn people around you. Said something. So what I'm thinking, I know nothing about this situation, but he's probably just done this before and nobody said nothing. And the owner of the track is probably allowed it. He's probably done it before. He probably, I done. but you were diligent. So that's what happens when somebody who sticks by the rules versus somebody who don't. And it kind of just puts you in a hard position and ruins your race weekend.
Yep, totally.
His race weekend too, but he did it to himself.
Yep.
You know, so he shouldn't even be mad. So I read this report. He said something about it's the same stuff. And okay, so even if it's the same stuff, it shouldn't be on your table.
Yep.
You're no different from the other people who are here.
Yeah. And, you know, the argument he'll make is that other people have sauce and this, that, whatever else. And yeah, you know, in certain times of the day, people were using sauce during practice, you know, like the beginning and the afternoons, you know, like before and after racing. And, you know, the reality was after this occurred, okay, if I saw someone with sauce, I opened the bottle, I sniffed it, and I put the lid back on. And people looked at me like, you're really checking I'm cheating? I said, I'm just looking, man. All right. You know, because the unfortunate part is, you know, I wouldn't want to have somebody else do it and try to.
Well, the whole point of the sauce table is to avoid all of that. So you don't even need to have a bottle of sauce on your table whatsoever. Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, so why have it? Even though you don't need it. You just what's there. So emotion. I have seen these tiny cars bring out the greatest emotions in people, man.
Yeah, and you know, like I have to say though, I'm pretty proud of myself for like just being cool, like and calm.
Or saying something about it and not being a pussy and not saying anything about it at all.
So
sorry.
It wasn't me who reported it. It was other people, racers. Right. And, you know, like I got put in the position where I'm now running the event for Donnie. And I could go like, just be like, yeah, no, he's not doing it. It's all right. It doesn't matter. Blah, blah, blah. And that's bullshit.
A shame, because you had top international guys there. Reinhard won, I believe.
Yeah.
You had guys from Japan there.
Yeah. The guy from Japan is 2 people away from him, and he sees all this go down. Yeah, you had like the same amount of Japanese representation at this race as the IFMAR 2022 IFMAR World Championships in Spain. Yeah, or half of it, but yeah, it's crazy. Well, it was any Kanai there. Interesting stuff, man. Unfortunate. I thought it was a lot more dramatic. I haven't really. You just told me, you wrote me and told me what was going on, but I don't know, man. I think that he got DQ'd, wasn't too fussed about it because he thought he'd make the A, and then didn't make the A, like emotions. I think if he looks back when he calms down, he'll even realize, all right, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I shouldn't have shot it. Maybe your emotions got a little bit too high with your disappointment at him catching him doing it. I was pissed off at this guy. No joke. You know? Like, if there was somebody new that had never done this race before, we could understand it. Yeah. But exactly. If it was some like rookie, if it was someone, you know, like maybe they didn't understand English. Like we had a table of guys who came over from Colombia for this race. Really? Yeah. Dude. Is it that much of an international crowd? I guess it's New York. It's easy to get there too. Yeah, and they have fun. They go to New York, you know, whatever, dude. It's like a destination. So like, you know, the Germans that showed up, they've been in the city for like the last 2 days, and they have one more day. And they're just here hanging out, doing New York shit because it's fun. I didn't realize it got so many people there. Well, next year, what's the dates for it next year? Well, it usually always is the weekend before Columbus Day weekend. Okay. Or, you know, basically like Columbus Day was the Monday, and it finishes on the Sunday before the Columbus Day. You know, that's when it's historically happened. I don't know if it's the best time because, you know, realistically, the track hasn't really gotten any real momentum going for the indoor season yet. And, you know, this year, in my opinion, like the local turnout was really low. Okay. And so all the locals who were there, I thank them for coming, you know, and good like stuff. You know, for the folks who showed up, it was great. And, you know, I think everyone had fun for the most part. And, you know, clearly there's 1 or 2 people and, you know, 15 others that were not there and on the internet who are pissed off about it. But I'm sure I'm going to get some messages after this. You're going to get hate mail like crazy, bro. Enjoy. Sorry. Can we switch over a little bit? Let's make it positive. Yeah, let's go. No. Well,
No, I mean, you're just telling me what happened. I wanted to know what happened, and a lot of people wanted to know what happened, and I'm sure this guy has his version as well. Mm-hmm. But I mean, at the end of the day, you were saucing at the table when you have a sauce table, and that's against the rules. Just like, much as you can complain that tank is 1 cc over, half a cc over, it's against the fucking rules, and you're over. So, I get it. Off-road. Let's switch gears real quick before we wrap this up, because I said this is going to be an hour. I know he's going to talk about ETS as well, because I know ETS. I know you like that. I thought, okay, let's touch on that real quick. Okay. Badass track, corkscrew, loved it. One of the few on-road tracks I've seen with like elevation. I love this.
Totally amazing.
I think we need, I would love to see, I don't know how we could do it, but I would love to see more elevation in on-road. Yeah. Beautiful facility. Scotty was there. Man, Scotty he was there. And he went in the raw nat. No, he did the raw nats. Then he went and did that. Mm-hmm. Now he's he must have stayed in Europe, and he did EOS. Yeah. Then he comes over and he's doing Masters of Dirt at Beach RC, not this weekend, but the following weekend. So he's back in full swing.
Yeah, it's good. Like people are getting out there. They're living their lives, which is great. That's what we want to have happen.
Exactly. And things are getting back to normal.
That ETS track where the gentleman who TQ'd and won the event, and he won everything but I think one round of qualifying. He's out of France. His name is Lucas Urbain, and really nice guy. He. I don't know how much people really care about, him, but like he has an average job. He works, I think, as a part of the French rail system, and on the trains. And he's not a pro driver.
He won stock, or
no, he won mod touring.
So Reinhardt didn't race this race?
He did. He whooped Reinhardt's ass.
Hold on. So let's rewind. So where was this track? It wasn't France.
No, it wasn't France. Okay. It's I don't know. I want to say it's like somewhere fancy. Like it's some country.
So this wasn't his local track.
Yeah.
This guy wasn't a guy's local track. Just a guy
who relatively his local track.
Okay.
So he has a lot of laps at this track. All right. Okay. And so he laid it down. But no one there. Unlike the Worlds, where Bruno had a 6-second lead on people, he won by like a half second and a half, something like that. And so it seemed more agreeable to most people. All right, whatever that means. And but it was great to see Lucas's effort and his real understanding of that surface. And the lines and the setup or whatever, and it paid off for him. So it was nice to see, someone who doesn't necessarily sweep up all the wins to get a win, and in a pretty commanding way. It wasn't he lucked into anything. He deserved that.
Okay. Let me ask you something. Do you think we'll ever see X-Ray return to this series?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
No, but
unfortunate.
Yeah, and I think it's really. It might be billed as a breakdown between, it's an X-ray versus an Automatics thing. I don't think that's it. I think it's more of an X-ray versus the Reinhardt thing. I think that's how it's really seen. But again, not having everyone competing in the same spot at the highest level, it hurts people, and it hurts the hobby in a way. But
I agree.
The other way to also look at it is at some of the events, and again, I'm not at these events. All right. But this is what I'm hearing. All right. The guys who are at the back of the A main now, because there's less drivers, X-Ray isn't bringing their team per se. Although Jan ran modified and did very good. Jan Ratajski, ran mod touring, which he normally doesn't run, did very well. But the guys at the back of the main, just in the A, are less competitive. And, in modified, unfortunately, the guys at the back of the A are also often a liability. and they can get in the way. They they don't know the right way to pass, and whatever it is. So there's only so many people at that level in modified, mod touring, and depending upon who you are, you're going to say one of two things. And I asked Mark about this explicitly last night. Is it too fast? He's like, nah, not too fast. But he's fucking good. All right. Conversely, it's super hard for someone who's running a blinky 13.5 motor to step up to that class. And so I saw rules recently posted in BRCA. I think that's what the British one's called. They are thinking about doing a blinky 5-turn and specking on, I think, a Hobby Wing 5-turn motor for touring car in 2023.
For mod touring
for
car.
Mod.
Okay.
I think this
for everybody.
I think this is a huge mistake.
Because then then we're gonna get the same issue we have with stock, like cheating motors and stuff like that.
Well, yeah. So, but it's a few fold. Here's really the issue. If they spec one motor, the Hobby Wing, because everyone has it, then there's no reason for Hobby Wing to sponsor any of those racers or for all the other manufacturers to sponsor any of those racers.
Because not going to use the equipment.
Yep. And so if you're not running the equipment, and then what it makes it into is a stock class where the motor, okay, they've spec'd the motor, and now the battery become the most important thing in the car. And you'll be putting new batteries in every week or maybe even every run. And no one's going to pick up no one's going to help with your travel. No one's going to help with your expenses. And, those guys who are trying to compete at that level, I think are going to suffer. So we tried that in the past in the States. We tried to do a 6.5 blinky 12 scale mod class, and it almost worked. And it's gone through a few iterations, but this was run a few years ago at Scotty's IIC race. And basically it ended up becoming a spec motor race. And the king of spec motors is Andrew Knapp. And with this Trinity horsepower, and Andrew whooped everyone's ass in mod 12 scale. This past weekend, NYGP, Andrew was maybe 4 laps off the pace in open mod.
Wow.
I only ran my open mod car twice because I didn't have a lot of time. I was 1 or 2 laps off of Andrew's pace, maybe 3. And it's about putting like a run in, but our hot laps were basically the same speed. And so, the reality is, certain cars do well in spec, certain people do well in spec. And I think
it's the same in off-road.
Yeah. And my fear is just the rules that people might be choosing to do something. They're just repeating the same patterns that we've already seen.
You just made another stock class, in my opinion. Just let mod be mod.
Well,
that's what it's.
So you think the same way Mark does. I think other people, my opinion would be, well, maybe what you do is you allow open ESCs so you can compete within the ESC space. You can make better software, and then you make a wind restriction. And, you can have inductance tests and all this other crap. But because if I go back to the time before Blinky had to show up, we used to run in stock. Pretty much the problem was initially LRP had a great stock ESC, and then the advanced electronics thing came out and blew everyone's mind. We can go into we could talk about how we've killed stock classes in another episode.
That's a whole long run.
It's going to be terrible. But the reality is, I'm afraid if you don't do something, mod touring the way it is dead.
It's no entries. I looked at my buddy went to a race up in Virginia, I want to say, local big race. It was 5 mod touring car entries.
Yeah, I'd be surprised.
And this is a big race.
Yeah. And the problem, like the thing I always try to like put on people, and whether they like to hear it or not, whatever the slower classes that you have, there's a TQ guy in super stock, let's say. The question is, did you beat that guy's TQ? If not, maybe you shouldn't run the class. All right. So there's that angle. But then, once you've gotten fast enough and you can beat that guy's TQ with the faster motor and the whatever else, then the real question is, how do you continue to go faster? And, most people aren't putting the time in. Instant gratification society, you hit the reset button on your PlayStation,
that's whatever. An issue in off-road too. That's an issue. Switching gears to off-road real quick before we wrap this up. Worlds have been announced. I don't know if you noticed that. Hobby Action has gotten it in Arizona. Yeah.
And so they have, is that a clay track?
It is a clay track.
Yeah.
So everybody's like, oh, Ryan Mayfield's going to win. Excuse me?
I think the town they're in is Chandler, Arizona.
Yes.
It's near, it's a Phoenix suburb. I think it's on the west side of Phoenix.
Right. So my thoughts on this is I thought that where they have the Florida Carpet Championship was going to get it, but they didn't.
Those guys are getting the 12 scale worlds instead.
Oh, really? So they do on-road at that? Well, yeah, because it's all modular.
They don't really.
Right.
But they will for that event.
Okay, okay. So they're going to have it there. Everybody's like, oh, Mayfield's going to win another Worlds. I think Fenn's going to win his first Worlds there. I think it's going to be one of the last. Max and I was talking about this on the Patreon-only pod. I think it's probably going to be one of the last Worlds you see on dirt.
Maybe. I can tell you, I'll probably save the vacation day and not go.
It's gonna be interesting to see. I think I'll get excited for the Worlds next year when it starts to coming around. I think you're gonna see all the international guys come.
Who doesn't want to get excited?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it travel wise, I mean, people can fly into LAX pretty easy. It's a 4-hour drive.
Phoenix is a real airport, though. Like they have international flights going in.
Yeah, but I think like flying into Phoenix is expensive. I know we just looking depends. Yeah. But I know a lot of people just flying to LA because it's just easier. So I think we'll get a full Worlds. I think a lot of people will travel.
Yep.
It's going to be in America. It's going to be relatively cheap. And it should be good for 10 scale. And it'd be good to see. I don't think Mayfield's an automatic, or because it's like Mayfield and Rifkin's. I still think Fenn right now is the best overall 10 scale off-road driver out there.
I don't know. We can put side bets on. Maybe does House of RC have like a betting app? No. Can we make one before now and then?
I don't know, but I'm sure Connie would know how to do it. He's smart like that. But it's gonna be interesting to see. You don't watch any of the EOS this weekend, did you? You was busy with your race.
Yeah, so. Dude. We were there at like 7 a.m. and we left at midnight every day. So no.
Yeah, sounds like RC. All right. Like I said, I wasn't even really planning this podcast, and then you're like, we should record about it. So I said, sure. We had some people ask about.
Have you seen? You're talking about off road, but have you seen Matty G running some on road recently?
I did see that with one up at Steel City.
He might have did Steel City, and he's been running, I think, at like Cal Raceway, and there's a place in like I think Santee, which is like near San Diego, and but yeah, it looks like he's running a little on road, which is interesting.
Good. I think he should. I think he should. That's a class that needs top American talent at this point. So he can probably make. Not saying that yes, you didn't make the finals at the Evolution J Concepts race. Born a Crime at Huser Hobbyplex, which was a really nice dirt track, by the way. I have to say, one of the best dirt tracks I've seen in a long time. He didn't make that main, but yeah, I think Born a Crime should drive everything, including Nitro. So
I do also hear, and like I might get this wrong, so I'm going to read a chat message system here. So please try to avoid my lack of attention for a second. But I heard Roar actually was missing national bids for 3 different surfaces. They don't have an asphalt electric asphalt national bid for 23.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be great if someone in California would step up.
No, well, it ain't Steel City because they're going to be going.
Well, we know that, but there's many other asphalt tracks in California. There's also, I don't know if it's both nitro types, but there's no nitro on-road nitro national bid.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one, which will blow your mind, there's no 10th scale dirt national bid.
Because nobody wants to do it. I didn't even know. Hold on. Where are the Raw Nationals next year?
Well, they're working on it now.
Okay,
but
so
there's no bids for those 3 surface types.
Well, I think that's what happened to them last year, coming out of 2021. No, for 2022 Worlds. That's why. Sorry, the Nationals were in March in Arizona because they decided to do it was too hot during June to do it.
Yeah.
But I think they did it, and that track hadn't been finished. Tim Lyon finished it. Never held a race. I do know a guy that did bid for that's what it was. I do know somebody that bid for both the 8 scale off-road and 10 scale Nationals. So it's because it's too much fucking work, man.
And you don't make any money off of it.
No, you don't. You have to, you start getting a percentage. I checked it. It's like you get $1,500.
Yep.
And then
if you have a certain entry amount, you get another $1,000.
And then you get a percentage. You get a percentage of the interest after they get to a certain amount. So they have to get to that amount and then get there.
And the reality is, like, all this does is it covers the Roar RMT, which is the people that go to run the event, and it covers the trophies. So you know what? Get cheap-ass trophies. No one needs their fucking participation awards. Give them like a little dog tag and says on the back, it says, say, do better.
You know what? Because Raw doesn't, when I saw him in 2021, if it wasn't for Kevin and LCRC and his crew, that event would not have been off. They worked there. He was telling Raw what to do, showing Raw what to do. So, but that's the thing. The track has to get all the money for themselves. So they have to go out and get. So they got all the sponsorship money, but they have to go get it. They get money off the sales of pit area. They got money, all that stuff. And Raw just comes in, plops down, already paid. Boom, we're here. Yeah. We don't give a fuck. We're already paid.
Kind of.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah. So hey, maybe let's talk about this this model of just changing things, and you should make that a constant topic. And
I have been. So, and then it just, you go to the website, it's no real info. How do I become a regional director? I don't know. Who do you talk to? Like, it's hard. Well, maybe you do because you're in that situation, but
I know probably a little more than most just because I know people in it. And, but the reality is, like, what we really need to do, if your friend gets involved or not for president, like, maybe he should even reach out to Clayton. All right.
We definitely need to get regional people in first.
Because in order for your friend to actually be involved, he would have to have, or she would have to have, I don't want to put gender. They would have
there's been a female president as well.
Yeah. Dawn. And I don't think I never raced with her, but there was a lot of I don't know, hatred for some reason.
Starting grid days, there was a lot of fighting with her. Homer Elman used to fight with her a lot. Tilt yard.
Yeah. I don't know why. Anyway, but what I would say is, we need people to cooperate. We need to change the old boys club, and we need to modernize the rules. We need to make things effective. We don't need to you don't need to have a big bang. You just need to do one thing, and then you do another thing. And then eventually it snowballs and you've done a lot of things. I
agree with you. Hefty, this is our longest chat.
Is it? No, I think we've done longer, but that's okay. It was hopefully useful. Hopefully this isn't live yet. It's going to be live soon. And, while you're in the States, enjoy the hate mail. I'll enjoy the hate mail from Florida. If anyone wants to talk to me about whatever it is, I'll be at Valkyria.
When is that? Next weekend? Yeah, next weekend.
Tonight.
This weekend.
We leave tonight.
Right, but is this weekend coming?
Yeah.
So it's the same. Yeah. So, okay.
And so come on by. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah, let's have a conversation with Lefty. I'll be in Myrtle Beach this weekend with all the Southeast races, 8-scale races. I'm looking forward to that. So, Hefty, thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming on here and clearing the air about the New York Grand Prix 2022 Montac New York Grand Prix. And it was a good chat about on-road. I've been wanting to get you on here anyway to talk about on-road and all that type of stuff anyway before what's been going on. So I appreciate that. And remember, guys, you still have a chance to win some Sampadal USA batteries.
We'll come up with some new questions, man.
We're going to have to. You know what? I need to go check. I think that actually my buddy BJ Williams might have won it.
Okay. I reached out to the GOAT. I got the data. I sent you the data.
I know. I need to go check that again.
All right.
But Hefty, thank you for your time. Good luck at the Nationals this weekend. Yeah. Have fun. Don't get eaten by any alligators. I will. Yeah. Don't get eaten by alligators or attacked by the super snake that now lives in Australia. And have fun down there in Florida and humidity and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it should be great. I pray for no rain. And I pray for bountiful amounts of chicken wings. That's about it, man.
There you go. Yeah. All right, Hefty. I'll talk to you later. Thank you for your time.
All right. Take care, man.
All right.
Be good.
Well, that's it for us. I need to go now, pack my bags, get ready to go to RCGP. Thank you, Hefty, for your time. Have fun at the Nationals. Good luck to everybody going to the Nationals there. Good luck and safe travels to everybody who's racing this weekend, wherever you are around the world. Have fun. Enjoy it. RC is awesome. Be an RC ambassador. And remember, RCGP is absolutely free this weekend, so you can tune in and watch that. Hear me babble on with Nick, which I'm looking forward to. The last round. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to being back in America. With that said, I want to thank you all for the continued support. Thank you to the NNRC Squad. Thank you to the patrons of the NNRC. Thank you to the members, the NNRC YouTube members. Of course, thank you to all the awesome companies that advertise with the NNRC. They are InvisibleSpeed.net, TZO 200 Tires, TNR Fuels, High Tech RC, Beach RC, Mayako, Lugs Racing Tires, Papa Willie's Traction Tonic, G-Spec RC Tuning, Sun Pedal USA, Racecraft USA, RCGP, House of RC, Clinic RC, and of course, shout out to our drivers, David Ronnefalk, Alexander Hagberg, Jared Thibault, and Robert Badier. Thank you guys for all the support. I hope you guys enjoy RCGP and Masters of Dirt. Check out our social media too. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff. I'm going to try and do a podcast in between next week. We'll see, but internet's kind of iffy. Going to be kind of busy as well. So with that said, I'm out. A safe travel for me too. Pretty easy flight. And I look forward to seeing all you guys that are coming out for RCGP. Let's have some fun and let's have some good racing. That said, Nitro Is The Glory. E-Buggy pays the bills. Thank you, Hefty, for your time. I hope I don't get too much hate emails, but I got broad shoulders. I can handle it. I'm off to America. I can't wait. Lefty is out.